Is Kevin Harvick the easy favorite this weekend at Phoenix? Or is it time for a young driver to step up? How's it going, everybody? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Got a couple things I want to talk about today, so let's just jump right into it. This is the last race, I believe, in the current configuration for the track formerly known as Phoenix. Before November, they will move where the start-finish line is and change where the stands are. They're going to change a couple things they're working on right now, but this is the last race with the current configuration. So I'm going to go over my picks for that in... Actually, you know what? I'm just going to go over my picks for ISM Raceway right here, right now. I'm going to call an audible mid-show. We're going to do picks for this weekend's race first, and then I'll talk about the other stuff afterwards. So there's one driver who's definitely probably kind of sad to see that they're changing this track's name because he's been so good at Phoenix for many years. Kevin Harvick has been dominant to start the season. He dominated Atlanta, he dominated Las Vegas, and unfortunately for the rest of the field, he has historically been the best driver at Phoenix, or ISM. This name's gonna trip me up this entire time, good God. Since joining Stewart-Haas Racing in 2014, he's won 4 out of the 8 races we've run at Phoenix. 4! Now, he didn't win there last season, so you skeptics, you got something to work with. But if I'm gonna make predictions for Phoenix this weekend, Kevin Harvick is the easiest, the safest, the most reliable, the most obvious choice you can make. So that's why I'm not gonna make that choice. Because if there's one thing I've learned about being on the internet, you need to have a controversial opinion. And so while all the facts say Kevin Harvick should dominate and win this weekend at ISM Raceway, I'm gonna analyze and pick somebody a little bit different. Specifically, there's 2 younger drivers who are in the early stages of their careers that have had reasonable success at Phoenix in the past, and I think we should have their eyes on them this weekend. The first one I want to mention is Chase Elliott. I know Chase Elliott has not won a race yet, and I know probably few people were looking at Phoenix or ISM Raceway as the track he was going to finally get his first win at, but it almost came just a few months ago at Phoenix. Yeah, that's right, last November he was leading here with less than 10 laps to go. And in his career he has 4 starts at Phoenix. He's finished in the top 12, and all of them he has 3 top 10s, including that second place finish last November. Plus that 9 team has been the best Hendrick Motorsports car and probably the second best Chevy consistently the first 3 races of this season. He finished top 10 at Atlanta, had a top 10, maybe top 5 run going at Las Vegas before a wreck. That was not his fault. So could Phoenix this weekend be his chance? I think there's a very realistic possibility. That's why I think we should not take our eyes off that 9 car this weekend. But he is not my pick. No, if you want my actual pick, my outlandish, my going out on a limb, my wild card pick, but my actual pick for this weekend's race at Phoenix, you're gonna have to look no further than Mr. Erik Jones. Erik Jones, you say? You gotta be kidding me. I know. Erik Jones, not the guy you would pick when there's Brad Keselowski, Kyle Larson, Jimmy Johnson, all these other drivers, Kyle Busch. I don't think anyone would expect Erik Jones to be seriously considered this weekend. But I'm not a very serious guy, so I'm gonna consider him. I have stats to back me up though. Don't worry, I'm not just pulling this out of thin air. I've briefly mentioned him in the episodes the last couple weeks. He's been one of the most consistent young drivers that we've seen so far. He finished 11th at Atlanta and 8th at Las Vegas, and he led laps in the Daytona 500. So he's been good, decent at least. And while I'm gonna fully admit it's a little bit of a stretch to pick him to win this weekend, don't get me wrong, but if I'm right, oh boy. Last season Erik Jones was a rookie, and he finished in the top 10 in both Phoenix races, including he finished 4th place here just last November. I know you guys we didn't really talk about him that much last year, but he won Rookie of the Year for a reason. He had some pretty good races like Phoenix in the fall. And speaking of Phoenix last fall, do we remember which car won that race? That's right, the 20. So not only has Erik Jones had moderate success at this track in the past already, despite not having much experience or having a very good race car, but now he's also driving the car that won this race just a few months ago. I know it's a different crew chief, all that stuff, but hey, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. After Austin Dillon gave the young drivers a 1-0 lead after winning the Daytona 500, the old drivers with Harvick and Keselowski and Kyle Busch and Truex have dominated the last 2 weeks. It's now 2-1 veterans. The young drivers need somebody to tie it up, and I think Erik Jones is the guy to do it. So there you have it. That's my pick there. Erik Jones is my #1 pick. I think Kevin Harvick, you can't go wrong with Kevin Harvick. I just wanted to be original. Chase Elliott's another great pick, because I know a lot of you are Chase Elliott fans. Chase Elliott's a great pick as well. I'd say Brad Keselowski's not a horrible pick either. This is the first, it's not a short track. It's what, about a mile long? It's not a short track, but it's at least not a big big horsepower, big RPM track like Atlanta, Daytona, and Las Vegas have been. So it's different. We might see some different people running up towards the front. I don't know that Kevin Harvick even is a shoo-in to be the most dominant car, but we shall see. Time will tell. I'm very excited for this weekend's race. We got an interesting mix of tracks, because after we go to ISM Raceway, we have California, then we have a short track. I think, is Martinsville the 6th race this season, or did we change that? I don't know, but then we go back to an intermediate Texas. So the next 3 races are kind of varying tracks that we haven't seen yet this season. So while it's very likely Kevin Harvick's going to win 3 in a row, I don't think his dominance will last for too long. Someone's got to catch him eventually. So those are my predictions for ISM Raceway. ISM, not Phoenix. I'll get it. I will remember. I'm starting to get there. Last thing I want to do pretty quick in this episode is something kind of fun. I like ranking things. It makes me feel like I know what I'm talking about, or at least that I have some sort of control or power in this world. So I like to rank things. So we're going to rank today the top drivers under the age of 26. In fact, let's say it's going to be the top 6 under 26. How about that for some alliteration and fun titles? So everyone roll up your sleeves and let's dive right into this, huh? This year all the talk has been about the young drivers, and they haven't really had too much success yet, but I thought they definitely have potential. And there's a couple that we've seen already run really well. There's a few that are probably going to be running really, really well over the next couple of years. So I figured right now, at this point, let's rank the best ones and who the ones, we got to watch out for. And I just thought it'd be interesting to debate. I'm going to give you mine. You guys can give me yours in the comments. I think it'd be interesting to discuss. So first I want to give you the list of people I'm talking about here when I talk about drivers 26 or younger. And I made it 26 specifically because I wanted to have guys like Daniel Suarez on this list, who I think counts, even though he's 26 years old, a little older than some of these guys. He's only been in the Cup Series for a year now. So I thought I wanted to put him in there. So anyway, here's the list. Drivers under 26: Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, Erik Jones, Ryan Blaney, Chris Buescher, Ty Dillon, William Byron, Daniel Suarez. Yeah. Not sure if I missed any there, but let's jump into my list now. And keep in mind that this list is not purely focusing on just driver talent. I'm factoring in the fact that some of these drivers aren't driving for very good teams right now, and likely whatever team these drivers are driving for now, they will still be driving for the next couple of years. I mean, Bubba Wallace will probably still be in the 43 for a couple of years. Ty Dillon will probably still be in the 13, and so on. So I'm going to factor that in here. So I know Ty Dillon's not on a great race car, but I'm going to factor that in. So first I'm going to start out with the drivers that didn't quite make it into the top 6. So basically 7th, 8th. William Byron and Bubba Wallace. And this is surprising. I actually expected to have William Byron a little bit higher than this point in the season. I'll make another one of these lists, maybe by the end of the season. I'll look back at this list and I'll compare it to my list in October and see how wrong or right I am. But William Byron, I've talked about this. He is not impressed at all this season. I don't think it's all his fault. I think his car is bad. He's also the youngest full-time driver in the Cup Series this year, so I'll cut him some slack there. But he's been running the late 20s for the first 2 races of this season, and that's just not that good. Darrell Walsh Jr. had a great Daytona, but it's Daytona, it's draft helps, it's a little bit luck-based if you just avoid the wreck, so I can't put too much on that one, and he's been no good at Atlanta or Las Vegas, so that's why I have Darrell Walsh Jr. a little bit lower. In both of their cases, I don't think it's all their fault. I think a lot of it is their car. I think William Byron is driving the worst car for Hendrick Motorsports, and I think I talked about this last week. I don't understand why Richard Petty Motorsports can't make a good race car. Come on now. It's one car. You're Richard Petty. Make a good race car. Come on now. This also means Chris Buescher, Ty Dillon are not in my top 6. And again, Chris Buescher, I know he was great in the Xfinity Series back when he drove for Roush. He's got a win in the Cup Series, but it was a rain-shortened win. Ty Dillon, I think he's got as much potential as his brother, if not more. But his team, he's driving the 13 car for, is it Germain something Racing? It's just not competitive. So unless he gets a better ride somewhere, he's never going to be a competitive car, competitive team, or competitive driver. Anyway, moving on to number 6, I have Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez impressed me a lot last season. He kind of had to come on last minute because Carl Edwards retired kind of out of nowhere, and so with a month before the season, they're like, hey, Daniel, drive the 19 car. Okay. And he did. He started the year off kind of not so great, but he made significant gains throughout the season, led laps at times. It looked like he was almost going to win the race at Talladega in October, had some good moments, and I think this year he's actually looked like one of the best young drivers the first couple races this season, so I hope that continues, and I think it will. So Suarez is at number 6. He's a little older than these other drivers. That's why also I have him a little bit lower on the list. If he was 22 and doing what he's doing right now, he'd probably be higher up, but still, I like Suarez. He's pretty good. Number 5 on my list of young drivers, I have Alex Bowman. Bowman the Showman. He's driving the 88 car now for Dale Earnhardt Jr., and he has not impressed me this season yet, but I think back to 2016 when he filled in for Dale Jr. for a good handful of races when Dale Jr. was out with a concussion. And Alex Bowman looked okay back then, and I think the 88 car was a better car in 2016 than it is today. So I'm trying to kind of factor both of those in. I mean, he ran really well at Phoenix in 2016. This year, maybe he runs well again at Phoenix or at ISM. We'll see. Alex Bowman also a little bit older than some of these drivers. He's 24, I believe, so he's had some Cup Series experience already, so I expect things to get a little bit better for him. He's kind of on the hot seat right now. If he doesn't at least look like he could contend for wins by the end of this season, then I might start leaning towards marking him as a bust. But it's early, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's number 5. Number 4 on my list, I've talked about him already, Erik Jones. Erik Jones won the Rookie of the Year last year, but let's be real, he didn't have that much competition. He had Daniel Suarez and Ty Dillon, and Ty Dillon's not in a very good race car, and Daniel Suarez really wasn't ready to make the jump to the Cup Series last season. So Erik Jones won the Rookie of the Year, not in super spectacular fashion. He didn't win any races. He led some laps. Like I said, he had good finishes at Phoenix, which is why I picked him for this weekend. But Erik Jones, he's driving the 20 car now, a car that's won championships. It's won a ton of races in years past, in recent years. I expect him to win this season, and I expect him to make the playoffs this season. And I think if he doesn't do either of those things, if he needs to at least make the playoffs, you know? I think if you win a race, you're obviously going to make the playoffs, but I think he needs to at least make the playoffs, or else I'll start leaning that maybe Erik Jones is a bust. I don't like to make these predictions so early, but I just, I want to get my opinion out there right here, right now, and we can discuss. Because like I said, I want to make another video maybe at the end of the season and see how right or wrong I was. I think Erik Jones is number 4. That's what I think there. And up to this point, this list has been pretty easy. These next 3 are a little bit more difficult. At number 3, and you guys might think this is a little surprising, I have Chase Elliott. And really, deciding whether Chase Elliott should be 2nd or 3rd was really difficult. I'm putting him at 3rd mainly because he has not broken through to win a race yet in the Cup Series. If he wins this weekend at Phoenix or in the next couple weekends, I think I'd definitely put him as the second on this list. But right now he's in 3rd because he's made the playoffs his first 2 seasons, which is impressive as a rookie. We've seen how these other rookies, Erik Jones and Daniel Suarez, both driving for decent teams last year, didn't make it into the playoffs, whereas Chase Elliott 2 years ago did make the playoffs in his rookie season. So I think you gotta factor that in and give him some props for that. Chase Elliott's still pretty young, so he's got a lot of room to gain. He's nowhere near being a bust at this point. I think even if he does not win this season, that'll be very disappointing, but I don't think that'll mean that he's a bust or anywhere close to that. I think as long as he still makes the playoffs, as long as he's still very close to winning, a winning race would be very helpful. Don't get me wrong, it would be very, very helpful, but it's not, I think he's pretty well established as a contender, even though he has not won a race, and I'll give him credit for that. So he's 3rd. 2nd place on my list, and this is what made it difficult. 2nd and 3rd were hard to pick. I put Ryan Blaney. Now, Ryan Blaney last season and the last couple of seasons has been driving for that 21 car for the Wood Brothers team, a relatively underfunded team, not as known, not as big of a contender, but he won a race last year at Pocono, which is, you got to give him a lot of credit for that, and he made it to the round of 8 in the playoffs, which for a young driver that kind of flew under the radar last season, that's impressive. He's moved over to Penske this year, driving the 12 car, and he looks even better. He looks like he could be even a championship contender if things start to fall the right way for him at the end of this season. I know it's early, obviously, but he's looked very good. I mean, Penske as a whole, all the Fords are looking good, so maybe he's just, taking advantage of the fact that the Fords are fast, but at least he's taking advantage of it, I mean, he's making himself look good right now, and it's good enough for me to think he's in 2nd place. I think he's going to win some races this year, and I think he's at least going to make it round of 8, probably. We'll see. So first on my list, you can probably figure it out by now, the best driver currently in NASCAR, under the age of 26, I have Kyle Larson. Now Larson's starting to get up there. He's 25 years old now. He's, still young, but not the youngest. He's been in the Cup Series for a few years now. I remember like 4 or 5 years ago, he was that phenom that we kind of came out of nowhere. We really expected to be great, and it took him a couple of years to get that win, but once he got that win 2 years ago, that opened the floodgates, because last year he had, 4 wins? And this year he's been, like I've said earlier, he's been the best Chevy car consistently the first few races this season. So, yeah, I don't know how you can't put him first on your top drivers under the age of 25. And he's doing it for a team that historically hasn't been that good. I mean, with Chase Elliott, we kind of, the Hendrick Motorsports has always been pretty good. We kind of expect it. Ryan Blaney, Team Penske, Wood Brothers. I mean, Wood Brothers not so much, but now he's with Penske. It's like, Penske's always been pretty good. We get it. But Larson's doing that with Chip Ganassi Racing, which, they've had McMurray in their team for years, and McMurray hasn't really won that many races, and, Juan Pablo Montoya didn't really win very many races in the 42. It's like, Chip Ganassi Racing, we don't really think of it as a super team of the sport, but Kyle Larson has made them look like a super team of the sport the last few years, and I think it's going to only get better. So there you have it, my top 6. Top 6 drivers under the age of 26. Let me know if you guys agree, disagree. Let me know if you disagree or agree with my picks for this weekend at Phoenix. Erik Jones. I'm going with Erik Jones. I think he's going to shock everyone and win in his 4th race of the season. Well, wait, he's not a rookie. This would be his 4th race of the season. Yeah, not his 4th race of his career. It feels like it's the 4th race of his career because I kind of forget he raced last year. But anyway, I expect the reigning Rookie of the Year to get his first win in his sophomore season here at Phoenix. ISM Raceway, good God. But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. I have another fun episode of Out of the Groove coming out this weekend you should look forward to. I'm really excited for it. I hope you guys are too. It'll be a little bit of a different episode, but it'll just be a fun one. This is probably the last episode then talking about or going into the race this weekend, so I hope it's a fun race. Hope you guys enjoy it. Subscribe if you're not already. Share this video with NASCAR fans you know, friends, family. Let them know what they think. You know, this is a fun place to share opinions. You can follow me on Twitter at DexRacing. Tweet at me. I'll reply on there. I like to chat. And I see everything that people tweet at me or tweet about me or whatever, so that's always fun as well. Continue the conversation, I suppose. Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better than I was earlier this week, but still not great, so hopefully that gets better. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you again this weekend, I suppose. Have a great one.